Oh, sorry. I like the intro music a lot. So I am here and ready to talk and hang out before the end of the year approaches us. I am Mr. Brad Chester. Hold on, I gotta figure out where the things are. That's Lyle. That's Brian. Oops, I went the other way again. That's Brian. And we are here to tell you about our newest multi-level marketing scheme that we want you all to I'll jack with that if I just threw that down for an hour.
Let's explain to you why it's not a pyramid scheme.
All right, so first we start out with the bottom layer, right? And then on top of that, we build another layer.
But here's the thing, the second layer has the same number of people, but the second layer has the same number of people as the bottom layer. So it's actually a cube, not a pyramid.
Only fans.
And then we cover it all in frosting and it's a cake, so we're all good. It's all good.
I mean, and it's always good as long as it's an ice cream cake. You know what? I'm going to take the hard stance here, guys. Cake sucks. Bring it.
I mean, you're not going to get me to disagree. The only cake I really enjoy is carrot cake.
Well, that's more of a pie.
Yeah, I think that's more of.
Also,
I think that's more because I really like the cream cheese frosting on it, and I like carrots, so they kind of, I don't know. And it's not.
I do like ice cream cake, but that's ice.
You know what I think's wildly overrated? If we're going on the cake thing, cheesecake. Cheesecake is massively overrated.
Cheesecake's not a cake; it's a pie.
It's
whatever it is, overrated.
It's not even really a pie.
It's 100% a pie. These are the hot topics that we have to figure out, guys.
You can make a cheesecake without a crust, so therefore it's not a pie. It's more of a souffle than anything else.
I mean, you could make a sandwich without a crust. I don't know what that means. They literally sell Uncrustables.
Also, coffee cake, also not a cake.
And by the way, Zuber's 100% correct. I do have gold medals in my attic for cake competitions, so I have a lot to say on that.
I love everything about this.
I think we need to get a bake-off between Horton's Cakes and Heidi's Pies.
Oh, I could be down with this.
I mean, I'd be much more apt to do all different kinds of pastries and cakes and everything else, but not just cake versus pie, because certain pies just trump cakes wholeheartedly.
Yeah,
that's right. Heidi used to bake before we got married. Heidi baked religiously, and I guess marrying a fat guy made her decide she didn't want to do that anymore.
In my mind, I was going for religiously, and now she's and now she bakes satanically. So,
hey,
still same amount of baking. It's now for evil.
The Satanic Church is still a religion. Satanism is still technically a religion, so it would still be religiously.
Evening. What about the cake with the jam layer? I don't know what that is.
I mean, it's still a cake. Cake.
We were dunking on England a minute ago, just talking about England tournaments, England meta. You know what England does have better than everybody else? Awesome names for their desserts. Jammy Dodgers, tier 1 name for a cookie. They're little cookies with a little jam in the middle, like you're talking about a little jam layer. Yeah, we don't have anything with that cool of a name.
Roy, you are correct as long as you eat it with an overabundance of Miracle. I was going to say Miracle Whip. Yeah. But mayonnaise on your pumpkin pie.
Are you from Ohio or from Minnesota?
My God, that would be disgusting.
Again, so are you going to say putting Cool Whip on pumpkin pie?
Yes. And in like a ludicrous amount of Cool Whip.
So what you're telling me is you like whipped vegetable oil with sugar in it.
Yeah.
On top of pie.
Yeah, I just said that. I feel like you weren't with me on this one. I effectively take one full container and I put it on the pie and I move on with life.
You only put one container on the pie? I thought it was a container per slice.
Well, it's like a half container per slice, to be honest.
All right.
I don't want to see the pie. I want to see the Cool Whip.
Now here's my question. As far as your rankings, instant spray, whipped cream, Cool Whip, whatever, homemade whipped cream, or the frozen stuff that you can buy in the freezer section at the store? I mean, what is your ranking?
Cool Whip is my top. I actually like it when you put it in the freezer.
The spray one?
No, not the spray one. That's Ready Whip.
Okay.
Cool inside of the container. That's my number one, and I actually like it as cold as possible. You can freeze it, to be honest with you, because it thaws like instantaneously. It doesn't even really freeze. Um, but and then my family will just yell at me because they always make homemade stuff. And then they actually used, I just kept poo-pooing all the homemade, and they just kept buying me Cool Whip then. Because I only eat it at holidays anyways, so it's not like I have a endless supply of Cool Whip.
I mean, by far, number one is homemade. I mean, come on. The Cool Whip is just very American-made dessert topping.
I had never had the homemade whipped cream until I got married, and then Heidi showed me how easy it is to whip together real quick. So that's kind of all we do in our house at this point.
There you go.
Like you're making pancakes or French toast or whatever, just whip some together.
Good man, good man.
I ate Thanksgiving dinner leftovers at Lyle's. It was fantastic.
Nice.
You could have had actual Thanksgiving if you just told me you needed some. You could have just come over that
I
day.
decided to die instead of going to Thanksgiving, which made me sad. My Thanksgiving was like Sarah McLachlan, Eyes of the Angel, because I had a bad day and I couldn't go. And I was originally going with the fam, and instead I sat in a dark room and went, this is fine. I did the meme with the flames all around me going, everybody else in my family's having a great time. I'll just sit here in the dark. Like, have you had wine pie? I have not had wine pie, but now I'm curious and I need to have it immediately. Corey, also, I only eat the junk food very occasionally. That's why it's holiday food, or I would die. If I ate the things that I liked all the time, I would just eat dark bread and cheeses, and I would weigh 7,000 pounds, and I would have to get one of those Jabba the Hutt floating things that moves him around.
Brad, the best way to solve some of your health problems might be just to go for the straight reincarnation plan.
I see. Gamey goes, he died then returned to us. He is Brazzarius. Brazzarius indeed. Brazzarius indeed.
All right, wait.
Brad, have
that's
you
our
had wine
first.
ice cream yet?
Say again?
Have you had wine ice cream yet?
I didn't even know any of these things are a thing.
Oh, I have to take you on some stuff.
See, half the time I don't believe you guys. You know what this started with is all kinds of people said bizarre things, and I never believe them, and always wrong. This started with guys at work back in the day used to describe wrestling to me, and I never believed them. And they're talking to me about a coffin match and all this shit, and I lost so much money betting on that these weren't real things. And now, well, I'll believe anything apparently.
No, wine ice cream is very much a thing. It's very big in the Finger Lakes here in New York. It's a huge thing. Combine that with your wine slushies, which are just rampant everywhere around here. It's a good time.
I mean, all of these things I could get down with. Russian black bread with brie and ice cold vodka, yes. Wine, cheese, and bread. Charcuterie gag, yes. I've not heard of penile cake. I don't know how I feel about this. I feel that this is some Mongolian thing. I'm gonna have to wrestle a giant man and then be sad about eating it. So,
Hey, it could be if it's Mongolian, it could be giant woman. You don't know.
they have you ever watched Mongolian wrestling, by the way?
Yes.
It is. No, it's like hardcore. Those guys are like super serious. They're also like giant dudes. They have matches where they're effectively almost sumo styling people, with their traditional garb, and it's these gigantic events. I'm talking outside events. They're huge events, and they go all day. They go like all weekend, and dudes just wrestle until you get a champion for it. And it's like these guys are hardcore, and also like they're big as shit. It's like
We're talking about like amateur wrestling, not professional wrestling.
I'm talking about actual wrestling. God damn it, Lyle.
Yeah, amateur wrestling.
Yes, Greco-Roman wrestling versus professional wrestling. Yeah.
Professional wrestling is the soap operas. Amateur wrestling is competition.
You started a charcuterie club? Why? I would love to be in that club. Here's, what I'm going to go with it. What are the best foods to have for gaming? And they can be out of the ordinary, because I love an actual board on the side for pretty much everything, because that's my jam, though. You know what I mean? I love cheeses and breads and the different fruits and stuff that go on it. I love that shit, and I love to have that kind of stuff on the side in social. And gaming is a social engagement, so I just like to have shit like that on the side, because you can take whatever the hell you want it's big enough that people can fuck around with it all night, but it's great for shit like gaming. You're like waiting for fucking Lyle to take too long in his turn. I'm like, screw this. I'm getting some pickles and cheese and some bread.
I can tell you what the most uncomfortable food to have for gaming is, and it's like 60 cheeseburgers at Snake's house. Because anytime we're there and Snake's wife prepares a feast for 3 people, I get wildly uncomfortable knowing I can't eat it all.
She makes so much food. It is fantastic. And I love the fact
The
that
food
whenever
itself is great. Eating the food is great. The situation is uncomfortable.
I love that, Corey. Best foods, hot wings. My models love sweet barbecue sauce on them.
Brad, what do you think the chances are that if
That what?
What do you think the chances are if we accidentally covered or you accidentally got hot barbecue sauce on one of your models, you would pick it up and eat it?
I mean, 50-50. But I don't like sweet that much. It'd have to be more of a spicy sauce. Also, I'm engaged now and intrigued. Sorry, I need to understand the Zoob's reaction to gum chewing.
So Zuber has this certain noise things, and the sound of people chewing sometimes gets to him. And I chew gum to make myself not snack. And when I'm actually hungry, I chaw gum like a horse. I really chomp down on it pretty well. And it drives him completely insane. I've actually watched him twitch sitting there as I chew. So
It is true. I already paid my bottles of barbecue. Kind of true. I painted it with everything. I showed California that. I do love tacos.
They do sell edible finger paints, Brad.
I do make Gina, Snake's wife, make tacos quite a bit. Everybody else wanted something, and I'm also known as PETA over there, which is pain in the ass. So, it takes a village to raise a Brad. I'm very high maintenance. I need my things. She does try to consistently poison me by telling me to try a wine she thinks I'm going to like that she knows I'm not going to like because I don't like sweet. And then she gives me something that tastes like Kool-Aid with 48 cups of sugar in it. And I'm like, why did you give me this? Every time.
Yeah, that sounds like the kind of wine I might drink.
Ugh.
Maybe she used to tell me what she likes.
But, exactly. Who's eating Brad's edible underwear? That's where you're wrong. He'd have to have undergarments. Badoosh.
Brad's not even wearing pants right now,
that
guys. If he
explains
stood
why
up,
those
a
pants
blanket
gave
would
me
fall
back
down.
were so dirty.
You're welcome, sir. You can sell those on the open market. But I like where we started here. I like how this started today. It's making me happy. Wine tier list? No, my number one wine is actually Malbec. I'm a Malbec fan. I like Malbec, Merlot, Cab in that order, and I really love some Pinot Noirs. BJJ John has a wine that I can't remember that I drink when I'm at his house, and it's fantastic. It's an Italian wine. Typically sweeter than I like, but it has a great taste to it. Watching football, and y'all came on. KR in the house. So do it for the kids.
Dude, all right, wait, Brad, because I know you're a football guy, and mentioning KR made me think of this. You've got to tell me what you think about the ridiculous situation out in Denver.
I mean, all of the things, dude, that entire last week of NFL, I'm not even going into it. We'll lose half the people hanging out with us. But last weekend of football was bizarre. Also, my team rolls a die to see whether they're good or not every time. I think it's percentile dice, by the way. My team is literally on a random behavior generator. It's just what they do.
Well, dude, the KR part is what made me
I'm
think
happy
of
that
it.
your team won the game without throwing a pass for 3 quarters.
Yeah, we literally put in a JV quarterback, which is our current. Is probably the reason why we scored 0 points. But remember, our games are now 0, 63, and a 20-point win over the Chiefs. So it's.
Here's the question I had for you, Brad. The Broncos are about to pay somebody $37 million to not play for them.
Yeah, that happens all the time. I can never give anybody shit. We ruined our franchise by Jamarcus Russell. So
sure, yeah, you guys do have Jamarcus Russell.
It's Browns instead of Bengals. The Bengals were the other Ohio team for like the longest time when I was growing up. Also, they hurt my favorite player in the universe, which is Bo Jackson. and he literally had his hip broken by the Bengals, and could never play again. And it makes me want their franchise to fail. Stay away from my favorite players, damn it. That's all I'm saying.
So, Brad, you know how you win at life?
I do.
It's very simple how you win at life. You hang out with us.
I like it. I like it. It's a big deal on that. You know the best part about how to win at life? Keep living it. So I'm always excited that I'm alive when I get up in the morning. I'm like, I don't feel so great, but I'm not dead. Take that, death. One more chance for Brad to fight the good fight. So sure, I'm getting beat up, but I'm still here. I don't hear no bell.
America, I'm here, Bo. I'm here, no Bo.
I'm pumped though. We've got, you know what? We've got a bunch of stuff going on, and we've got things. Here's the thing. We're going to talk about this in a minute. We're going to talk about Star Wars versus Star Trek in just a second. But the first thing I want to do is give me anything in fantasy that's better than Lord of the Rings. I'll wait.
Oh,
Like fantasy, the genre, or like fantasy, like
fantasy and media. No, because the
Okay.
game, I can give you a billion things that are better than Lord of
I
the
will.
Rings.
Fine. I'll start the fight now. I'll go to the grave saying for sure Wheel of Time is a million times better than Lord of the Rings.
The show?
No, the
so
actual
are we?
No,
are we
we're not
saying
talking
everything,
books.
or are we talking the
You said
No,
fantasy.
no, I did. I said fantasy. We're talking movies and TV shows, not books, not.
I refuse to watch the TV show. I don't know how it is.
It's
It was
not.
terrible.
It's not great.
It's not good.
It's got to be, again, guys. It's got to be movies and TV
fantasy
shows.
or science fiction or
So
just fantasy.
No,
better
just
than Lord of the
fantasy.
Rings?
Just fantasy, because we're gonna have the ultimate nerd debate later, which is Star Wars versus Star Trek, and then we'll go all over the place with that because 40K will come in.
To be
Can
honest,
we? Can does it have to
fantasy
be?
that's harsh. There is. I don't think currently with movies there's anything better.
I mean,
That has
Eddie
the
came in
same-
hard because I threw it out there. I was waiting for someone to say it. Game of Thrones.
If you're allowed
first
to
5
count
seasons.
like the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones, that
Oh,
might be better.
5 seasons. Come on now. Yeah,
Whatever.
you were still jamming on season 5. It wasn't until 6
I've never
and
seen
7.
a second of it, so I don't know.
You've never seen Game of Thrones?
No.
What? Who are you?
Pay for HBO. Why would I? I'm not gonna go pay for HBO just to watch one
No
show.
one's paying for it. Just pirate it like the rest of us.
Never seen any of it, and after
you know what?
the way it ended, I don't feel like I'm inclined to.
I keep inviting Andy all the time to come on, and he keeps saying he's going to come on, and he never does. That guy's a scrub.
So I don't know, man. That's tough. I don't think Game of Thrones is at all better than the Lord of the Rings, the original trilogy movies. It's not even close.
I loved all of them. I actually like the second one. I love the Battle of Helm's Deep is badass. Hey, when I watch it now, let's be honest, what I do is I watch it, and then every time hobbits come on, I fast forward past the hobbits, and then we go with Rohan and Gondor men and kicking ass. You're like, oh, the hobbits are still lost? Cool. Blip. Next scene.
Here's my question, Brad. For this discussion, does YouTube stuff count?
Anything counts. You can't.
Okay,
you
you said. I was making
well,
sure.
sorry.
'Cause
Movies
I would-
TV. It has to be some sort of. It can be any kind of series. I don't care where it's from.
Or what are those D&D movies from YouTube? Oh,
Well, I was gonna say Critical Role. I would put the first and second campaign of Critical Role up there as like that kind of
That's
epic
just,
storytelling.
I could see possibly, but that we'll have to get the judges on this one because that is.
But that's a different thing. That's 400 hours versus 10
Yeah.
hours. So.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna have Andy join us in spirit here.
oh, Corey, Conan is actually very good. The original Conan was absolutely fantastic.
Conan the Barbarian. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's my first fantasy show. I watched that probably a few hundred times when I was young. On VHS, thank you very much.
So non-Star Wars, non-Star Trek, what was the best sci-fi?
That's hard. I've seen a ton of good sci-fi. I've seen a shit ton of good sci-fi, actually. If you're going to bring it into Lyle, there's a lot of people doing fantastic work right now on YouTube, making shorts that are just fantastic. Code Studio made a bunch of stuff. That shit's on Netflix now. But
The
like,
guy who was doing the Space Marine thing.
yeah,
That's just like
Well,
that was years ago.
one
Think
of
about
my-
with better stuff.
I still think that one of my favorite videos of all time for 40K is The Last Church. That was amazing. So it's really good. Yeah, that's true, Matto. Season 8 of Game of Thrones. Yeah, we don't talk about that. That is something that is like Voldemort. You don't talk about that.
Science fiction wise, I would say, and this is getting very like it's not even like I'm not going off the beaten path because I think a lot of people enjoy it, but very specifically the Matt Smith and David Tennant seasons of Doctor Who are up there with anything I've seen.
Good choices. Good choices.
But really specifically those two seasons. Like the Christopher Eccleston stuff was fine, and the stuff that came after Matt Smith left is fine. But like those two, I feel like were like actual compelling television, not just something silly or whatever.
Andy, you're getting an invite on Racist Uncle.
The Expanse, really good. I agree with that one, Corey.
Oh, The Expanse was fantastic. Did I ever tell you that when I found out how I found The Expanse? Oh, this is awesome. So like I literally just got done reading the first or second book in The Expanse. I can't remember what they're called now. It wasn't The Expanse. But I'm like about to go to sleep and I'm barely in and out of sleep, barely awake. And I have Sci-Fi Channel up. And I'm just like, this seems so familiar. And finally I pop up like, wait a minute, man. This is literally what I was just reading like 10 minutes ago. And then the series was great. It was fantastic. They did a great job with that.
Another underrated Red Dwarf from PBS.
Oh, I remember that's forever ago, but it's really cool.
Yeah, it was 20 years ago or better, but absolutely fantastic series.
Like I know it's a series of books. I haven't read anything beyond the first book, but for a standalone movie, I absolutely love Starship Troopers. Like I think it's like amazing for what it
It's
was
so
like.
cheeky.
The story it was trying to tell with the allegories and all the satire.
That's
about.
probably my favorite guilty pleasure movie because number one, the book is far superior. The movie is very good. The movies get worse and worse as they go.
I've only seen the first movie because I'm not interested in seeing the other ones.
I think it's like the third
They're
movie.
bad, but
they find the hive mind.
Yeah, they're
Yes.
legend bad later. But,
Oh,
they
yeah.
but they also like they dump all the propaganda piece. That's the whole point of them, though.
Yeah.
In the other movies, they're trying to show you about how crazy it is and everything. You're just like, as they're coming out with the SS troopers, and you're just like, hey man, I feel like you guys are throwing down some shit that's going down here.
Like similarly, and this dips into the realm of books as well. Like Ender's Game, obviously, I did enjoy the movie, but the Ender's Game books were all like I had a hard time picking them up after the first one because the first one's the only one that was really directly criticizing, public government education, and then that goes away when he leaves the planet. So the other 5 books are just Ender doing stuff, and there wasn't as much direct comparison and them trying to make a point, which made it kind of less enjoyable.
Flash. God damn it, KR. That's gonna be in my head like forever now.
I was the minute he did that, and I was like, Flash, dun, 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 dun. Savior of the universe.
Oh, but man, Buckaroo Banzai, I love that movie. It's so goofy. The Boys sci-fi, I don't know if I consider The Boys sci-fi. It could probably be up there.
If The Boys is sci-fi, then Heroes is sci-fi, and the first season of Heroes is the best
Yes.
thing I've ever watched.
But the first season of Heroes was amazing. The second season of Heroes made me want to drive to Hollywood, Stewie style, and slap someone in the face. That show jumped off a chasm of suck for their second season.
I don't know there's any bigger piece of evidence about how big of a deal writer strikes are than that show going to its second season. Because that was exactly when the writer strike happened, and the payoff was obvious.
Oh, it was... Ooh. Blech.
But the first season is legitimately the best thing I've ever watched.
It was fantastic. Barbarella. No.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a
I'm sad that I even know what that is.
I was like, Lyle, you were young enough that you should have been able to avoid that.
Hey, you know what I remember? The original V.
The
Like-
original V was fantastic.
Yes, the original. When they came down and you saw them, they ate the mouth and they had the disgorged jaws because they were all snake people.
That's right.
Ah!
Some 1980s TV sci-fi, good stuff.
Wait, maybe I don't know what Barbarella is because I think in my head I was thinking of Stripperella.
You've been watching all of the porn versions of every sci-fi movie.
No,
Stripperella wasn't porn. It was that weird cartoon that Stan Lee made with Pamela Anderson.
Oh yeah.
Oh god, the Sean Connery in that weird T-bar, dude. He's just like literally wearing a Speedo with that. I don't even know what to call it. That wraparound Speedo thing. Oh my god. Whew, that was wacky. What's
All
the
right, so
best
we got-
series? You know what? Let's. We're continuing on that. What's the best series, sci-fi or fantasy? And it can be anime, by the way, if you want to go there. Because, like, for instance, I was really bummed for a while because I couldn't find anything good to watch. I mean, this goes back a bit because I watched it last year, but Arcane was fantastic for it. So, District
You
9.
gotta fix all your cameras now, Brad.
I mean, do I?
Oh wait, you got it. You got it.
Do I?
Oh my
Brad's
god.
not normally prepared.
And I can take down Sock Puppet, Andy, or should I?
So I think you just started the fire.
I don't care.
I might cover you up with the
It kind
Sock
of looks
Puppet.
like Sock Puppet Endy's an effigy burning over the fire. So
Yeah, just put it over the middle of his screen and let him talk through the puppets.
I'm cool with that.
Firefly gets me fired up. You know, this is how I didn't even know about Firefly from the beginning, and I had a bunch of the nerds in my game store tell me about Firefly, tell me how awesome it was, but they didn't tell me that, oh yeah, it was 13 episodes and nothing ever again. And I'm like, I kind of hate all of you for telling me this. I could have lived my whole life without knowing that apparently Fox is where great shows go to die and never get pushed.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I couldn't tell if you could actually hear me or not. All right.
Yeah, we're just assholes.
So you want me to?
So,
Game of Thrones still the best fantasy show.
as long as you don't give the last two seasons, which were possibly the last season, by the way, was Heroes season 2 bad. It was
Oh.
bad. It was
I'll still
legendary.
concede that those seasons suck ass. They're still. I literally just rewatched The Lord of the Rings over Thanksgiving, and my girlfriend's a big fan of it. And I was just like, wait a minute. This main dude is a big bad. He's the evil beyond evil. And his big plan is to make a ring when he's already big and bad and powerful, to make himself weaker and now possibly have a vulnerability that he then gets beat randomly. And the whole big bad is him to get his ring back, even though he's crazy powerful. It's just a silly premise when you sit there and think about it.
I
Look,
actually,
man, we can't start comparing. Like, that's a whole different tier ranking of which movies don't make the most sense when you think about them really hard. All right.
But that's why Game of Thrones does make sense and is a better version, because it's just like people are shitty. The world is shitty. Watch these shitty people be shitty to each other, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense.
come on.
You-
You know
it
what?
doesn't fall apart when
Until
you
the
think about
last
it.
season, damn it, I'm arguing with you because Danny's my favorite character, and she was awesome until they just decided she was crazy, and that was it.
I mean,
I'm gonna-
wait,
I wanna
wait,
say
wait,
this,
Brad, you
I
never had
have
a girlfriend
enough-
just go
the
crazy
world
on
is-
you?
I mean, come on, dude. Who are you talking to?
That's my point. I think you're
all of our
building the
time-
realism case for this.
We spend all of our time obsessed with a game where everything's terrible and everyone dies and nothing good happens. Why would I want to watch that in my free time? That's just like the fantasy version of 40K.
I mean, the messed up part is 40K started to suck right after the Horus Heresy, the Imperium, like Life in the Imperium. I'm doing an entire episode, 40K Lorecast, check it out. But I'm literally, look at you read more and more about it, and you realize, yeah, man, the people are like, it's so stupid to fall into chaos cults and this and that and join this. And you're like, and then you look at a day in the life of the Imperium, you're like, Yeah, man, I would literally join anything. Like, just can I not do what I'm currently doing? Because this is literally hell.
It's like we just now. How many people have watched Rebel Moon so far?
Please.
I've started it like 3 times. and
I
I've
watched
turned
the
it
whole
off.
thing and I wanted to love it, and it was bad, dude. I'm sorry. It had great
So
premise.
Again, I don't think it was good because it was an amalgamation of a lot of different stuff, which is perfectly fine.
But it should have been good. It had all of the tropes, though, kind of things that it could have been fantastic.
But there was 20 minutes in that movie where it was just so boring, where they just completely lost me. I was like, I've watched it twice. I fell asleep the first time watching it in those 20 minutes. The second time, I did everything I could do to fight to stay awake.
Dude, it also had they had two plans basically, but their plan was just horrific. And they also had the worst speech ever. I'm like, all right, Lyle, Andy, Brian, I want to storm the Pentagon. What's your plan? I don't have one. We're going to get bats and we're going to run. Are you in? And everybody's like, I got this. Let's do it. And people agreed to that. And somehow it semi-worked because apparently if you have a freaking Excelsior level giant spaceship, there's one guy that's behind a small piece of glass that's driving the ship, and that's it. And that might have been one of the dumbest things I've seen in a while.
I'm going to stab him with my stick.
Yeah, and he punched out the glass, basically. You're like, you know that, like, you couldn't have that as a space... Oh, whatever. That scene itself made me boo my computer screen.
No,
The one thing I can say is when the ship first showed up, and I'm like, dude, that's right there. That's Battlefleet Gothic. It's the cover of Battlefleet Gothic. What are they doing?
The best sci-fi movie that you guys haven't described, Starship Troopers, is up there, and the cartoon is even better than the movie because it tracks to the book. But The Fifth Element, I mean, come on, that is an amazing.
I literally just watched that yesterday.
It is my favorite movie.
I put it on quite a bit. Just to the side.
So I've had this discussion several times because The Fifth Element is Heidi's favorite movie of all time, and I have never seen it, and it's now
what is with you?
It's you guys that came out before I was watching movies. What do you want?
What is wrong with you,
Brad? That sounds like you should revoke his nerd card.
I'm about to put up some Lilu Dallas multipass in about 2 seconds here.
We're gonna have to put you in a room.
I don't really
show
go back
you
and watch stuff that came out before I started paying attention.
Just so nothing. You're like, I refuse to accept that anything has ever happened before me.
No, I don't believe there's any movie good enough for me to go back and watch a shitty looking movie. Like compared to what I can see nowadays.
Oh, so
who are you?
Would you like the long list of things I've never seen? Because it's a long, extensive list.
Have you seen Aliens? Because that was before you. You really? I'm gonna have Maddo kill you.
Wait, Lyle, have you seen Star Wars?
Yes, that I've seen.
That was before me. How have you seen that one? I think
my dad forced us to watch it because he came out, like he was in high school when it came out, so like it was a big deal to him. So he made us as kids watch it. You know what? I've never seen any of the original Star Trek movies. I've only seen the new ones.
Well, you don't watch the odd ones, anyways.
I don't watch the odd ones.
They're bad. Aliens is
I've
also
only seen the
amazing.
ones with Chris Pine.
I think I've seen Aliens significantly more than I've seen Fifth Element, and I watch Fifth Element quite a bit because I like to have it on my second screen just to hang out. Aliens is boss mode. To be fair, Alien and Aliens are two wildly different movies.
They are.
One's an action movie, and the other one is a horror movie. The first one is like effectively a horror movie set in sci-fi. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's a huge feminist movie. The first one.
Ripley rocks, dude.
I know, as I said, it's a huge feminist icon movie because basically,
because she's
this woman tells people when to do shit, they don't listen to her, and then they all get ganked because they didn't.
The movie that I was most disappointed, I was most excited about, and it did not work out. Prometheus. Sorry, anybody that likes it, but I was so excited for Prometheus.
Does that go with Aliens or does that go with Chronicles of Riddick? Because I know they both had movies around that same time.
It's the Aliens one.
Okay.
And they literally supposedly had the best of the best, and those were the guys where the guy that was literally in charge of mapping got lost immediately. Even though he has drones mapping the entire thing. Couldn't figure. Also, when they looked at the map of the temple they were in, it literally had a circle. It was, sorry, a square with like 2 hallways. It's not even possible to get lost. And the guy that was the biologist literally finds an alien organism and goes, "Ooh, look, coochie coochie coo," and tries to pet it and gets killed. And I'm like, yes, you deserve to be killed. That was the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Watching the Chestburster stream when I was 7 was a poor life choice. It was a fantastic choice. Set you up for later. Original Indiana Joneses can't be considered fantasy or sci-fi, though. They're just good movies.
Yeah, just good action movies.
Yeah.
We don't
They
make
were
those
actually,
anymore.
yeah.
Also, there's
Hold
that
on,
whole
hold on.
huge problem.
On this, what's the best spoof movie of all the genre of sci-fi
Scary
fantasy?
movie for.
Say again.
Oh, only sci-fi and fantasy.
Scary
Only
movie.
sci-fi and fantasy. If you have to
Okay,
spoof from sci-fi and fantasy,
Spaceballs.
100% Spaceballs.
Mm,
How many spoof movies are there? Like, that's a very narrow
A
category.
lot of them, though.
There's a
lot.
ton.
Like, I can't even think of any.
Oh, Robin Hood Men in Tights.
That was a spoof.
That would definitely be in the running for fantasy spoofs. That was really well done.
All right, I'm writing these down now. Manos, The Hands of Fate, and Feast. I'm checking these out. I literally.
Even I know that Manos Hands of Fate is up there with like one of the 2 worst movies of all time ever made. Like it's famous for how.
Am I going to
bad
be
it is.
so angry about this?
You may punch your monitor during the
Oh,
movie.
Jesus.
I've
haven't
never
seen-
watched it, but I know enough about it to know it's supposed to
I'm
be.
getting
maybe
set up
the
for
worst movie
failure
ever.
here. You know what? I'm going to say this. As I've gotten older and older, man, I like series more than I like movies anymore. And I'm not talking about like long, old school, on TV, 22 episodes per kind of thing. I'm talking about like, I don't know why they would ever make a 2-hour movie as opposed to putting out a 6 to 8 episode series now. It feels like that's how people consume shit anyways. And you can just tell a better story because you don't have to jam everything in. Like, let's talk about a bad movie, The Eternals. Does anybody think that wasn't bad?
No,
I haven't seen it.
That was so bad.
But it could have been good if you gave some goddamn character development to the 43 characters, which you could have done in a series.
They've been alive for 10,000 years. How much more do you think they can change, Brad?
Probably a lot, man. I've learned shit over the last couple years, let alone if you let me live forever. Also, you probably don't get a good scheme of my life if I go, hey, how about 2 minutes you tell me everything you've ever done? And I'm like, all right, too long, out. You're like, but I don't think anybody really knows anything I've done. You're like, well, they're going to have to because we got 22 more people to talk about. So, original Akira was the thing. You know what's funny? I love and hate anime like so much because I hate cheeky, goofy anime, but I love really good anime. And the problem is I always have to have people show me a good one because I've watched so much bad and it just pisses me off.
You just, 1, get better anime friends, and 2, there's tons of serious, non-cheeky shit. Especially now, there's so much of it that's out really good that is like you would love.
You know what I've been watching this? I don't know why this made me pop into from anime. There's a lot of Eastern European fantasy sci-fi stuff that's coming out that if you're okay with dubs and or subtitles, that's pretty boss mode. They've got some really cool, because they've got a lot of especially with their historical stuff, their mythos from a lot of the Eastern Europeans, like hardcore. It's like looking at the original Grimm fairy tales and stuff. It's just really jacked up shit. You're like, oh, you shouldn't go there. Why? Kids, you will die. And let me tell you the 20 reasons in depth that you're going to die if you go here.
Hey, wait, that might count for good spoofs. That when you said that, it reminded me. There was that show on ABC like 5-10 years ago. It had the blonde girl as the main character, but it was like all the fairy tale characters were like trapped in a city.
Oh yeah, I know what
And-
you're talking about.
Yeah,
That was like the first season was really, really good.
Yeah,
the second season, it
first
got
season
worse.
was great.
Yeah, when it went out, it
Yeah.
kind of jumped out. It jumped the shark again. Terry, 100%. Blue-Eyed Samurai was fantastic. I think KR told me about that. And I watched it.
I just watched that. So good.
I told
I
you.
loved it. You taught me about it. I can't
told
remember who. Yeah, I immediately watched it. I loved it. That's one of the best things I've watched in a while. It was it was just a fun ride, you know.
Yeah, it was a good story.
And it broke a lot of stereotypes and tropes.
It was a good time on that. But it kept to a lot of though. That's the thing. I love a lot of the good tropes. They've been around forever because they work. You know, messing with them is cool. You know what I mean? But just abandoning them is not.
I loved the blend of music that they used, where they used traditional Japanimation music and then they used, classic American rock.
Yeah, the music is really good. Yeah. Did you watch Cyberpunk, Brad?
Which one? The anime?
The anime.
I haven't watched all of it. I watched the shorts that they did when they were putting out the game.
You got to watch the one on Netflix. That's great.
Which one is? I can't remember if I. Yeah, no. I did watch it actually because
Runner.
Yeah, because I love that shit. Shadow, because one of my favorite games on that, like role playing type games, was Shadowrun, which is basically Cyberpunk. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's definitely basically both because they both suit each other. So, to say who took what. So they've got a lot of Sapkowski. Yeah. The books are actually really cool. He's hardcore also. The Witcher. Have you ever read the Witcher novels?
I have. They're great.
Yeah. Like he's hardcore about shit too. Cause like everybody that's there is everybody always gets a super shitty decision. And then you just go, well, the world sucks. Deuces. And you're just like, oh, okay. And you move on with life. Again, Eastern European style, where you just go, everything stinks. Move along. You're like, okay. Not a lot of happy endings there. Good stories like a motherfucker, though. I like a lot of that shit. Here's the thing. Right now, if you're going to say, let's go new stuff. Not new stuff, but in the last 5 to 10 years, if you were going to give somebody a recommendation, I'm going to go around the horn. I'm going to go start with Brian. We're going to go Brian, Lyle, and Eddie. Give me 1 or 2 things that you would tell somebody to go watch, series-wise. Fantasy, sci-fi. Fantasy or sci-fi. You've got a big repertoire, so I'm going to have you go last, Andy.
All right.
And apparently, Lyle's never watched anything that was before yesterday.
Basically before 1996.
Man, that's tough because I watch a lot. I've been watching a lot of documentary stuff lately, so it's a little. There's this thing on Netflix where there's the reincarnation of Thor. It's a Norwegian or.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I have not watched it yet though, but I saw the ad. It was
it's dubbed. It's really well done. I honestly cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head at the moment. But I really enjoyed that. I would recommend people check that out. It's through 2 seasons right now, and it was really a fun ride. It was really enjoyable.
Like it. I like your style. Give me something, Lyle.
In the categories we're talking about, the only thing that would make sense to me to recommend would be The Legend of Vox Machina on Amazon, because that's just a way more consumable piece of media than actually going and watching the 800 hours of Critical Role that you could,
Oh, it's fantastic.
Watch it.
Sums everything up.
Yeah. So plus, that's a pretty good version of the story.
Got it. Eddie, what's your go-to?
Also,
here?
I'm just a big fan of because seems to be a newer thing, but the adult cartoons that have been kind of churning out the last 4 or 5 years. I do like that style of storytelling.
But give me a specific. Give me one that you would recommend.
Well, Legend of Vox Machina fits in that. It's kind of that same style as Invincible, of just violent adult animation that's not just kiddie cartoons.
Yeah, I liked Invincible quite a bit. Dota Dragon's Blood was really good. Thank you, Shazzy. I loved it.
Matto, I agree with you. Outlander is a really good show.
Fantastic. And if I said anything different, my mom would show up and hit me. She loves that show.
my wife would slap me from wherever she is right now.
Keeping on the Netflix ones, and that Castlevania was really good.
True story.
It was a slow burn, but it got a lot better.
I like Castlevania quite a bit. I'll give you that.
All right, so we got 15 minutes left. We have to argue Star Wars versus Star Trek.
Well, Danny's got to give me his second one because he's been thinking about it. We gave him last, and then we'll go right into Sci-Fi Mojo.
Sci-fi one, I'll make it quick. That's new that maybe people haven't seen this. Foundation on Apple streaming, whatever it is really good. In an interesting universe. It's basically kind of like Dune and 40K kind of mixed with.
The problem is that it goes wildly off the rails from the books, and I was told that the second season is pretty good, and I am going to watch that.
The second season is good. Like, it goes off the rails, and then they somehow bring it back at the end on the second season. It's a good one. All right, now you can do your Star Trek and Star Wars.
I'm even starting the poll. What's better, everyone? Star Wars, Star Trek, and why?
Yeah, this
All
is not
time,
even
or
close.
are we time perioding this? Because it's
No.
wildly different.
No, what I'm saying, but like the thing is that Star Wars, while my favorite, has kind of jumped the shark in recent days, but Star Trek does have a wild amount of content. You got to figure they have what, 9 series?
Well, let
Yeah,
alone
the biggest
if
issue
you
is that
count
you're
all the
comparing-
if you're looking at all the Paramount Plus stuff that they have right now
Yeah.
for Star Trek, some of that stuff is fantastic. Under Decks is amazing, really
Yeah.
well put together. But Star Wars,
The issue is,
overall,
unless you count the Paramount stuff, it's apples and oranges. Like, the Paramount stuff makes it worth discussing if you throw in movies like Rogue One or whatever. If you're just comparing like 1 through 9 to the Star Trek
No,
universe,
well,
like
it's
it's not a
not.
comparison.
No, I'm talking about
That's like comparing Die Hard to Legend or to Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Like, they're two completely different
No,
things.
but I'm saying, like, we're going to go as a whole. The 2 franchises, so that includes everything. That means Clone Wars, Rebels, all of that stuff is included in Star Wars, and then everything for Star Trek, including all of the Discovery and stuff like that, all of those series, because a lot of those series are fantastic.
for me, Star Wars with the original extended universe, hands down, was better than Star Trek because Star Trek just kept playing the same tropes over and over again. Star Wars did not. They kept evolving.
What?
Did you read
You're
all the
telling me
extended
that
universe
Star
stuff?
Wars didn't recycle things?
They recycled some
The-
stuff, but they did not
Episode
recycle these
7
same
and
tropes.
Episode 4 are the same movie.
I'm not disagreeing with you that they are not a similar movie.
Ooh, I think it's just like you encounter so many bad pieces of Star Wars and things that just feel like they were money grabs. Like, there are bright spots, but there's just so much darkness there too. I think I'm going Star Trek because hands down, Star Trek gives us Patrick Stewart and like
They did have
Come
some
on,
of my
there's
favorite
nobody in the
episodes.
Star Wars
Okay, you
universe
know what?
that
I'm going to tell you one of my favorite episodes in all of sci-fi was a Next Generation episode where Commander Picard gets pulled in and literally lives an entire life, and because he got thrown in, and literally lives an old life and passes away, and then just wakes back up on the bridge of the Enterprise. And it was this probe that their planet got destroyed, and they just wanted to let people know what it was their culture was. And I thought that was one of the coolest episodes that's ever been made. So that shit was bomb. But
Star
I think
Trek,
Evan's right. Like, Star Wars better universe, but Star Trek better shows and like storytelling.
But I agree with those
Someone in
2%.
chat
These
said
Star
that we're-
Wars movies changed the genre of sci-fi and made people view sci-fi entirely differently. Star Trek didn't do that on its initial run. Star Wars did.
well, you have to wade through the trash too, because Star Trek has a bunch of shitty shows, and it also has Wesley Crusher.
So,
So-
if you just if you compare the Star Wars, the first movie for Star Wars, like, we're not even including everything else from there, versus Star Trek the original series, right? Star Trek the original series had some great political stuff to it, but that didn't change the genre of sci-fi the way Star Wars did.
The initial trilogy of
Here's-
Star Wars was what made me love sci-fi in the first place, and I'm
Exactly.
old enough to see those in the theater. Also, I have to give it to Evan. How Many Lights episode of Star Trek
yeah,
was
that
also
this episode's insane.
yeah. Holy crap, that was hardcore.
Yeah.
But
Look, we can't have it both ways though. If you want to talk about how the OG Star Wars 3, the OG trilogy, redefine things, and we wanted to just talk about, this is peak Star Wars.
How about this? I'm going to
compare it to peak Star Trek.
No, that's what I'm doing. I'm going to revamp the question.
Star Trek show into account, because the original Star Trek is the worst Star Trek.
So I'm going to give you. I'm going to revamp the question. You know, I'm still going to keep it up in the poll in Star Wars versus Star Trek, but I'm going to revamp the question. If you take the top of each genre, and I'm talking the best episodes, the best movies, the best anything, which then has it? If you could cherry pick, 100 episodes / movies / anything, which has the better stuff? Hold on, we got a super chat here. Matto with $10 super chat. If your boyfriend, girlfriend murdered a ton of women and children, Tusken Raiders, we all just let it slide, right? Not a red flag? Making Samuel L. Jackson boring was also an amazing feat. True story. She did literally go, he just murdered a whole bunch of people. We should hook up. They're like, you've got problems, dear.
I think if you go tops to tops, I think it's definitely in Star Trek for me, and not Star Wars.
Star Wars at its best is it redefined what science fiction could be, kind of like as like a short-term action storytelling. It doesn't. There's nothing outside of Rogue One. There's nothing in the Star Wars compendium that moved me as a viewer. Whereas I can point to countless episodes of Star Trek that moved me.
Bro, some of the animated stuff's amazing.
Clone Wars is good.
Okay, I have not delved deep into the animated Star Wars universe.
The expanded universe is where the magic happens now. Also, Rogue One was fantastic, but also if you didn't like Andor, you probably don't like Puppies and Sunshine, because that was a good ass show.
Everyone always puts Rogue One out there as this great Star Wars movie. That is a shitty first hour movie that makes no sense and is like the tour guides of the galaxy. The last 30 minutes to an hour isn't a fantastic movie, but people just forget that whole first hour that they sat through.
She gave an amazing speech. Also,
I'll be completely honest. If you put a gun to my head and asked me to tell you what happened in the first half of that movie, all I could tell you is I think Darth Maul was in it. That's the only thing I remember.
Yeah, it is not a complete good movie. People just remember that last hour, which is fantastic.
All right, so let's pull out. Okay, which one has the worst trash? Right, because the worst trash movie for Star Wars is by far the Han Solo movie. That thing was just hot garbage. And
is it worse than Episode 1?
Last Jedi.
Yes,
bad.
Last Jedi is way worse.
Way worse than Han Solo. I would literally watch Han Solo on repeat.
All right, so someone brought this up to me, and I've always thought this was a good thing. For Brad and I, Star Wars, the original trilogy, was our Star Wars.
Yep.
Right. Episodes, the next trilogy set was that they're right now in their early 30s Star Wars trilogy. Right. And then my niece and nephews, the next one was their Star Wars trilogy. It was written for those people at those times to appeal to that mass. Yeah, I look at them all as separate blocks, and I try to enjoy them for what they are in the time they were written. So maybe that's my thing, where I don't think the new trilogy was as bad as a lot of people make it out to be.
Someone just pointed out in chat that if we want to compare trash to trash, we have to be talking about the Star Wars Holiday Christmas special.
That does not exist. You put that out of your mind.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It does. I don't know what you're saying.
I remember watching that, but anyway.
You would get black bagged into a van, Lyle. You keep talking about that.
Come on, let's just find it funny that they did reference in Boba Fett the holiday special by giving him a weapon.
I mean, by the way, Mandalorian season 1 is also really good. Star Trek's movies were bad. Like the first Star Trek movie was pretty awful.
Yeah,
I don't know if I've seen the first one.
It's literally the Voyager. It comes back and it's Viger. It's not good. And then you had
something with whales at some point.
No, that was back in episode 5. Again, the odd movies of Star Trek are trash fire.
You don't watch them. You watch Wrath of Khan. Voyager.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wrath of Khan is such a good movie that they remade it basically the exact same movie, and they were both awesome.
Well, the funny thing is he just like drops it when he just goes, and my name is Khan. And you're like, this makes no sense to anybody that doesn't know about the original movies. He just drops it like, what? I'm on the list. Let me in the club,
Oh, wait. The
What?
last question here I like. Who wins a fight, Worf or Chewbacca?
Worf has never won a fight.
Absolutely, Worf.
I love Worf as a character, but it's only Worf after he gets the braid, though. Short-haired Worf sucks. Sorry, he's bad.
Yep.
He's literally.
Well, but in my mind, what's really going to happen, because like if you try to go 1v1, then it's an Indiana Jones situation, because you're going to have Worf with his like glaive versus Chewbacca with a crossbow. So Chewbacca will wear that or win that. So then they both have to try to shoot each other, which means they're both in their spaceship trying to shoot the other person's spaceship. And I'm taking Enterprise over the Millennium Falcon.
So here's the thing. Let's just put him gladiatorial combat, no weapons. Who wins?
I mean,
If it's hand-to-hand, no guns, Worf wins for sure.
No, definitely Chewbacca.
I feel Chewbacca
about
pulls his
Chewbacca?
arm off and beats
He
it with
just
it.
there's-
beats him to death with him.
I'm sure there's something in the comics, but there is no visual media evidence of Chewbacca being a good hand-to-hand fighter.
It is true.
Just
John,
people talking about him being a Wookiee.
John does
He's
make
right.
a
It is in
good
the
point.
comic.
Deep Space Nine, a bunch of characters went there and then became cool after
Yeah.
that.
Worf did get better in DS9.
Worf over the entire character of like all the shows he's in, badass.
I mean,
100%.
are we just not going to mention 7 of 9? Like, really? We're just not going to in that discussion
also,
there?
we didn't say Deep Space Nine this whole time, and that might be. I don't know. I really love that.
That has the best story from start to finish of the whole
Yes,
series.
it was
I agree.
good the whole time. I liked it.
Gul
Oh,
Dukat, one of my favorite characters of all time. I feel like they did him dirty at the end of the show. I wanted to see a little bit different, but Gul Dukat is amazing as a character.
I mean, you have to do 7 to 9 was pretty boss mode. I mean, it was pretty cool. A good story
Plus
arc
the
on that one, too.
longevity of those shows, like they go for multiple, 5-year blocks. They aren't shows that come up for 2 to 3 years and then fade away. And that in and of itself is something like Star Wars could not do that to a TV show.
You're probably right. I think they're both excellent, right? I even though, like, for me, Star Trek discussion of the original series, and it goes more than 5 minutes, I normally start getting violent because I just can't handle it. Because
sorry, I have to give. We've got the epic
Peaches.
pun of all time, plus Peaches coming in. First off, picking a fight with Chewbacca is a Wookiee error. Yeah. The Peach Destroyer
Wookiee
$2
mistake.
super chat. Lord of the Rings extended edition wins all. I do like me a Return of the King extended edition, and it's also like 72 hours long, so you can
I
just
will-
chill with it.
Fight you if you try to make me watch that. Oh, I did it once.
And he's getting taped to a chair next time he's around. No.
Andy, right? You had
When we-
like
when
50
we
episodes
moved-
one day, right?
When we bought our condo and moved, we cleaned out, like, we had hundreds of DVDs we had accumulated from me and Heidi before we got married. And we had just thrown them in a cabinet. And we're like, okay, we're moving. We need to, like, start chucking things, taking them to the donation center or whatever. And basically the only movies that Heidi refused to get rid of were her 3 collector's edition, extended edition Lord of the Rings box set, like the original red, green, and blue ones. She's like, I will not ever get rid of these for any reason. She has 2 of one of them. I have no idea why. She has 2 collector's edition of the same movie.
Because what happens if
Doesn't make
something
any
happened to
sense,
one
but
of
she
them?
refuses to get rid of it.
You don't know that. It could get ruined. You don't know. It's good times. Good times. All right. You know what? Screw it. I told you guys my favorite episode of anything. Give me either your favorite movie or your favorite episode in sci-fi. I'm starting with Andy this time.
I already told you mine. It's The Fifth Element.
No. Well, okay, then give me an episode of something.
I don't know episodes like that. Come back to me on episodes. Give me a
All right.
second.
Fine. Go to Lyle.
That's a tall order to narrow something down that much. Honestly, the first, like, there's a couple Doctor Who episodes that come to mind that, like, since they're immediately coming to mind, I feel like I'd have to go with them. The episode A Good Man Goes to War, where Amy's baby is, like, kidnapped from inside her uterus and kidnapped out, and then he, like, goes to fight an entire alien civilization to get the baby back. That's really good. The one where they try to kill Hitler, they travel back in time to kill Hitler, is really good. the Doctor Who episode. Probably the best one. It's weird to count it as an episode because it was like one of those like hour and a half Christmas specials. But the Water on Mars, where David Tennant comes to terms with like he's gonna have to let himself die and he doesn't want to, but he realizes he's going insane if he keeps living. That's a really good episode. So I'd probably have to pick some of those. Did you move me off the screen because you're mad at me?
Do what?
I'm looking at the YouTube screen and my head is cut off on the top, and I feel like you did it out of spite.
I have not changed you at all.
Oh wait, no, sorry. I have a scroller on my mouse. My bad.
Brian, and
His favorite fantasy movie is by far Labyrinth. I just loved that movie. So much nostalgia for me with that one.
just because you need some Bowie in your life.
I possibly, but it was that was a quintessential movie of my teenage years. So I will go with that one for fantasy. For episodes of shows, that's tough.
Yeah, that's so hard. Like I just can't think of it.
Yeah, that's a really specific
in my
question.
head. There's like tons of X-File episodes that keep popping up, and I'm not sure why. And I know that's not quite sci-fi-ish, but
Hey, wait. On that note, there was that remake, like, there was that new X-Files in the 2000s. That was like weird. I can't remember the name of it, but there was the episode of that show where like everyone's like every orifice on their body got covered in skin, like as a disease. And so like in a second, the guy's face goes like covered in skin and he suffocates. That show gave me nightmares as a teenager.
You know, I'm going to give you guys another.
That was like the modern X-Files.
I'm going to
I
give you
forgot what
guys another great episode from
is that
Firefly.
Fringe?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Fringe. I would say that's Fringe. The episode in Firefly where Mal has to duel. And he fights for her honor. That's a fantastic episode. It also ends amazingly with that dude tooling him up, and he's just like, yeah, screw it. Stab. Just roughhouses him. Battle of the Bastards is GOT is baller. It's hard to go with not a better episode. I mean, there's a couple like holy shit good episodes. When she takes the multiple episodes, when she says that she's going to sell, Danny sells the dragon, and then gets the Unsullied Army, and basically you find out she's been could speak Valerian the entire time, and just goes murder all of the slavers. That was a hardcore episode.
Yeah. The Red Wedding was also absolutely fantastic.
Oh yeah.
The DS9 Siege, yeah, fantastic episode.
Yeah.
Star Trek won the poll. Eddie, you're closing out the show, so you better figure out a good episode, or you forever will deal with your failure.
Wait, I don't know if this would count as sci-fi, because it is sci-fi in the future, but it is superhero. But like the last episode of Batman Beyond.
Oh.
That's a good one.
When we
It's kind of
Is that the one where
spoiler,
he
we
meets Amanda
realized that,
Waller?
like, and we realized that Terry is a clone of Batman.
Yeah.
That is a great final episode because it actually is a conclusion to the series. That it's a surprising kind of pseudo cliffhanger that you just don't see coming, and it ends on a great note.
Love it. On that note, Lyle, give us the line.
Stay milky, my friends.